Hello, this is Artemis_anime, and today I am reading Izuku Makes Everyone Cry by magicalspacepanunicorn, Chapter 4. It's the Principal. Principal Nezu is at his doorstep. Though he shouldn't be surprised, a couple police officers had requested therapy sessions and even a few small-time pros. But the principal of UA, a talking animal with a higher intelligence than most humans, is standing in front of him with a smile. I'd like to make an appointment as soon as possible with one Izuku Midoriya. That's me, Izuku mutters, barely able to register the words as he steps to the side. I don't have anything else to do for the rest of the day, so we can meet now, though your tone indicates that this is something else. You're quick. Nezu steps in, walking to the living room and looking around as Izuku grabs an empty notebook, a pen, and 2 cups of tea. Thank you for agreeing to this, especially with it being so last minute. I don't mind at all. I just finished my classes and my mom doesn't get home for another couple hours. I was actually debating going to sleep for the rest of the day. Naps are quite nice, yes, Nezu smiles, sipping from his cup. How does this work? Do I dive right in, or do you ask some questions? I leave that choice to you. Izuku wants to add more on, but stops himself. Let's see. You probably know, but I was in a lab for quite a long time. They would experiment on me, hurt me, test me. That's probably why I hate humans so much. Izuku is jotting down notes, hands flying across the page. Also probably why you chose to become a principal instead of just a teacher. What makes you say that? There was a clear confusion in his voice. Being in a lab, you couldn't have had much freedom, if any. So being principal gives you the most control over any situation, relaxing you a bit and letting you remind yourself you're not there anymore. And the people you've met won't be able to leave you without going through the quitting or firing process, which means you won't feel the sudden regret or sadness if they do leave. You'll have had the time to accept it. You're very observational. I'll admit, I don't think of my position as a way to regain control over my own life. Nezu nods. I suppose that's expected when you're the best. You're deflecting, Izuku mutters, mostly to himself as he takes more notes. And I'm definitely not the best. Am I? He chooses not to acknowledge the other part. I think that question answers my statement. It does. Nezu sighs quietly. Answer me, Midoriya. Do you ever feel like you don't fit in with your world? You're too smart for it, and no one understands you. Not really the smart bit, but I am working on that. I suppose this is an indirect way of asking me if you think you're going to meet someone that flows well with you and doesn't question you. Most of your staff can't really keep up. You have trouble finding people you truly enjoy spending time with, though you wouldn't trade the time for anything else, I'd say. Your disdain towards humans is entirely understandable, and you aren't expected to just move on. But I will say, you should focus more on the good and the way you treat others than focusing on past memories. If you hadn't processed them, then you should think of them and work through the emotions. Anger, regret, sadness, guilt, they're not unavoidable. Nezu stares at the boy before him, nodding. He hasn't been reduced to silence in a long time. But the fact that this boy can dissect him with only a few of his sentences, he thinks it's an excuse enough. Although now, he wants to see how well Izuku can hold his own in chess. If you'd like, we could do something like reading while you process. It can be a lot, the first session, but I always make sure it's less than 15 minutes. And that 15 minutes is about over. Nezu nods, standing and making his way over to a bookshelf. Did I have a child? I'd like to hire you. The silence of the two reading is broken by Nezu's statement, shocking the green-haired boy. What? We have quite a few people at UA who would benefit from your sessions. You'd be with the Racerheads class unless there's a quirk session or it's physical-based training. We'd pay you too, quite a hefty amount. Don't you already have a counselor? And wouldn't this count as child labor? Yes, but Inu can be hard to speak with when you get him worked up, and he's not as good as you. We'd keep him, but I think he'd have an easier time as more of a therapy dog than a therapist. As for the other question, we're already training children to become heroes. I don't think it's much different. Izuku began wringing his hands out, having placed his book down near the beginning of this conversation. I'll need some time to think about it. Of course. The rat takes the card out of his pocket, setting it on the table. Call me once you've made your decision, preferably before you begin high school. He walks out, leaving Izuku to debate the pros and cons of accepting such a job as a child. Nezu picks up the phone, not recognizing the phone number, but a very big advocate for surprise. Yes? Izuku begins, terrified and chewing his nails. I have a request. Of course! He would recognize that voice anywhere, and any need to ask who it was, just for laughs, was gone when he heard the tone of the voice spoken. I want to mandate therapy for any students who have gone through a traumatic situation in the last 2 years, and any new students I reserve the right to call to the counselor's office if I see anything even remotely concerning. I also want to continue my sessions with quirkless people whenever there's time. I believe I can arrange for all that. Nezu sets the phone on speaker, rifling through his desk for the paperwork. Can we arrange a meeting for this? What time works best for you? Yeah. Any time is fine. Wednesday, next week. I'll see you then. Nezu sets the phone back down in its place, smirking to himself as he began to work through the paperwork, making sure it would work for the boy. And that was Chapter 4. It's the Principle of Izuku Makes Everyone Cry by Magical Space Unicorn.